something new, broadcasting from Chris's setup instead of a soft setup, so hopefully we don't have any internet issues. So hello everyone. Chris, we good? I'm
Welcome.
imagining that we're broadcasting now.
I think
Go
it's
ahead.
a great imagination, though.
Okay. Here we are. So saludos to Mexico and St. Louis, Salt Lake City, Netherlands, everyone, Canada. Hello to everyone. Welcome to the Great Transition. Hello, Chris, behind the scenes, taking control of the ship tonight. And hello, Asaf.
Yes. Hey, everyone. Yo, yo, yo. Yes.
So, Asaf, I was in 2000. We were all ready for the world to end, and then in 2012, were you aware in 2012 when the Mayan calendar kind of finished, and thought we were going to
that's where Hollywood. That's where Hollywood had more another reason.
I wasn't tuned into Hollywood at the time, but yeah, it was. I had this book about the Mayan calendar. Also, I was wondering what was going on over there. No, it's happening again. Where the experts have warned that time is running out.
Yes.
We don't take, if leaders, they tell us, if the leaders don't take the leaders in their limousines and private jets, don't take drastic action to reduce emissions immediately, we're going to suffer climate catastrophes, devastating sea levels rising, intense heat waves, widespread species loss. However, we have a problem. It's cold in a lot of places, and we need heat. And not only that, you know that my business is, my normal Clark Kent business is around appliance. It has something to do with appliances. I was talking to one of the manufacturers this week. He told me that the number of shipping containers, all the stuff coming into the U.S., the number of shipping container increase is up 40% from 2019. There's a 40% increase into Los Angeles of crap. And in the New York port, it's like 25% since 2019. That's, we need a lot of crap. I mean, maybe we don't need it, but we...
well, it's currently what we drive the demand for it.
Yeah,
as a society. Yeah.
So we need, on the one hand, we have a serious problem. We're being told about this climate, and we need to reduce emissions immediately. On the other hand, people need to stay warm. In China, they heat themselves. Coal is a big part of that. Yeah, it's going to be like -0, below freezing in big parts of the world this winter. They need to burn emissions, and we need all this stuff. So we have to keep the factories running. We have and then the world is coming out of poverty at the same time. So more people need more stuff. So there was, maybe this is a silver lining, there was a big climate conference. It just happened. Jeff Bezos, I think he was there. He flew in on his private jet. He pledged $2 billion to save the planet. So thanks, Jeff, for
thank you.
Simultaneously destroying it at a much, much faster pace, but he's a puppet. He doesn't understand that, and really no one in humanity has any kind of shame about what we're doing. So there was about 70 private jets that landed there in Scotland in the days leading up to the conference. So it's a very serious, this climate situation. The United States president, would also probably be interested to know. And by the way, you have no idea how much news I have to consume in preparation for the show. The United States president, which otherwise I would have no idea what was going on in the world if it weren't for the show.
Or Kabbalist has to plug into the world.
I have no idea what was going on in the world. The president of the United States, on his way to Scotland, he stopped off to see the Pope. The president.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, me neither. He's the.
Wow. It's very exciting.
He's the second Catholic president. I think JFK was the first one. He's the second Catholic president in the United States. So his motorcade on his way to see the Pope had over 80 cars, and many of them Yeah,
very
climate
carbon
conscious.
emission
Yeah.
friendly.
And
Yeah.
yeah, there was some videos of them idling, idling, just sitting there running their engines. So listen,
Mhm.
it's a complicated situation. These powerful leaders, I can just kind of cut to the chase. I don't think our solution is going to really come from these guys. They certainly
Mm.
aren't making any changes in their lives.
I have a feeling that a lot of our listeners and those who don't agree with you.
They
I don't
do agree.
really
You think they
think,
do agree with
yeah,
me?
yeah, I don't really think that people think that something will come out of these committees. I think I think
Mm,
people, I think that people see through the hypocrisy that, like you just explained, like the examples you just gave. And I think that there's also, it's just that people, a lot of good people want a better, want us to treat the environment better. They just don't, they're not sure what to do. So they think, let's vote in for this regulation or that regulation or something. But I don't really think that people, you know hold these committees at a high, oh, it's very critical what's going to happen. Now come on, like, everyone knows there's business interests and political interests in this whole green economy thing. Everyone knows there's a, anyway. What, you disagree? You don't think, you think that people think of
I,
these things as critically important and like,
I'm having a hard time reading what's going on right now. I don't when you say things like that, like you often say like,
yeah.
"Oh, people understand that." Or you're like, "Oh, yeah, no, I don't I think people are very
Uh-huh.
skeptical of the leaders." You say that stuff so
Yeah.
matter of factly, like cavalier, like, people understand this." And then like I look outside, I'm like, "Do they? Do we
I
really
think they
understand?"
do. I think that maybe
Your small bubble around you do.
undoubtedly you're also right about that. But here's why maybe I can add a little bit of a clarity to it. I I'm not saying that people are super conscious of what is going on behind the scenes. I think that I also separate between action and perception. I think people still are taking action. They're still, there's also this constant influence on us from the news, like, oh, the committee met, the Paris Accord, the climate this or that, the UN came out with this stupid, CGI dinosaur that's going to tell us to stop driving ourselves to
Hold
extinction.
on.
You saw that thing?
You shouldn't
So,
run past that because the drama of such an idiotic campaign in the face of such a serious situation
right?
really shows the hypocrisy and
Cognitive dissonance, even
cognitive
beyond
dissonance. I am so
what are
cognitively
we
dissonant in this world going on
exactly?
right now.
So
Explain
okay,
this dinosaur
wait.
thing just for the dramatic effect of it.
Okay. Okay. Ah, there we go. Here's our
Oh
dinosaur.
God.
What? So the
There was a whole
what?
video. No, it's yeah, people are really up in arms about it. Like you spend all this
Are
money and all
people
this
up in
time
arms
just
about
to,
it?
well, the internet.
Yeah, no, that's what I
They
mean.
don't
I didn't
what are
realize
you
that
going to
people
do?
were.
You're spending all this money to, it's not a cheap production. You've got, technology, you have
Yeah.
people, it's
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
So let
Mhm.
everyone know what this is. So they made a movie about a dinosaur talking about it. The UN spent a bunch of money
Mhm.
to hire famous Hollywood people.
Yeah,
Feel great about this.
someone sent me the video, which was already dubbed into Hebrew. So this was also, dubbed into many different languages, I assume, because I saw it, with Hebrew dubbing, and obviously the origin is English. There we go. And so there's this video where the dinosaur, as if, goes, steps into the UN, to the whatever, the council, however you call that room there, and it goes like, let me tell you something about extinction. I know about extinction. It's
Mm.
not, you don't want to go that route. That's a very bad place to go. Something like that, something to that effect, right?
Okay.
So
Bottom
that
line.
is just, bottom line is, that is really how we are responding in the face of extinction in the face of our
No,
existence
somebody
in
got
this
some budget
state.
money.
That's,
Somebody got some budget and had a blast for working on that for like a year or something,
yeah.
hiring Hollywood people, bringing in, catering.
Well, they do these things much faster these days, not a year, but yes, they
Okay.
had fun. That's but it just kind of shows you, it shows you eh, on the one hand, you can say, they're trying to reach people in a way that they're reachable. Social media, short videos, make it visual, make it creative, but it's such a cognitive dissonance as opposed to the message there that's being that we're kind of trying to communicate through the medium. There's such a cognitive dissonance between the medium and the message here. And I think that is what, thank you for forcing me to explain this. Now I can make my point. I think that is what people are feeling. That is what I argue. I think that regardless of what they do, they still vote for this person or that person. They'll still say, this regulation or that regulation. They still hope maybe for things to change. Maybe they have hope for solar or wind that will change things, electric cars, if they don't know too much about, all the coal that's burned for it. But I think there's action level where people who want to do good, who want the environment to be in a better place than it is right now, they're doing actions. But I think the cognitive dissonance is already there. People feel, I argue, okay, that's how I read the environment, and that I think that people feel like those committees and those accords between countries and those discussions between the leaders, it's not really the medium through which we can actually solve this problem. It's not and I think that people do question the interests, political and money interests behind these things, and they know that
Okay, so
it's a business in many ways.
I'm not sure. I think that that's out there. I don't know how widely that's adopted. I still think that people, well, we know from the wisdom of Kabbalah that everyone's motivated by emotions, right?
Yes.
And I still think that there's this very primal emotion in us to want there to be a bad guy,
Mm.
and that the bad guy is outside of me.
Okay.
And because what this does is this allows me to feel calmer about my life, and it allows me to not
Yeah.
have to change.
True.
Because if the problem is really, really big, and I
Like
can,
too big to take on, kind
too
of
big
thing.
for me to deal with, with
Yes.
my limited resources, if I can pin the problem on somebody outside of me, some other culprit, the oil industry, this politician or that one,
Mhm.
and I can vote against them and like put a couple soda cans or water bottles in the recycling thing every week. So
Mhm.
like I'm clean. I
Mhm.
did my part.
I
And
can
I
feel good about myself. Yeah.
yeah, and not in some I feel good about. I just think that that's more what's running inside of people because the problem is so big. And here comes a very, very interesting question for people who are coming to the wisdom of Kabbalah. What does the Kabbalist have to say about these puppets, all of these leaders that are just puppets in
Oh.
nature's guiding hand? And what is, are we actually governing nature? Right?
Mm.
Like the guy, like Jeff Bezos, like, is he like causing all this pollution, or is nature
Mm.
actually creatively and consciously developing a Jeff Bezos? Did
Mm.
nature make a Jeff Bezos? Did nature make McDonald's to chop down all these rainforests? Is this what nature is doing? If it is, what do we get from that? Or no, we're just plop down here, and a couple people are bad. We should point a finger at them and try and vote them out or change
Um.
that. So
Mm. Why are we? Let me just add to the questions, and then we can maybe
mhm.
see where we want to bite it. Right. So yeah, we were, we just kind of set the stage so far and talked about it from a sociological perspective. If we really want to get to the Kabbalistic bottom of this, then I would I would start with this question. I would say, what is the big problem with us? What's the big deal? I mean, think about this climate crisis as something that's happening in your home, right? Let's say you're the guy, you come home or whatever. Think about let's say like a big family, lots of kids. Let's just make the analogy more vivid, right? Like lots of kids. You have a nice house, many different rooms, kids at different ages. So let's say I'm coming home, and I'm noticing there's a fire in the backyard. And I'm like, guys, seriously, like there's a fire in the backyard. Like, come on, we gotta do something about it, right? And then one of the children goes like, wow, I really want to help you with that, but they just put on like they Seinfeld is now on
I'm in
Netflix.
the middle of a
Like I
game. There's like
I
10
didn't,
minutes left
yeah,
in this game.
exactly.
Can we do
And
it after the
and
game?
I'm like, okay, but you're not gonna have any game if the fire's gonna. Yeah, but who knows if the wind is gonna really blow in this direction? And come on, and there's also, but can I just finish the game? Can I just like really just like finish it and then help you with whatever you want? Can I just? And and the wife goes like, can you help me with the groceries and then I'll attend to your stuff? It's like, so, and it's like that's kind of the situation that we're in, right? So what's the honestly, that's pretty much it, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can add more arguments there and more like perspectives. Like, I don't know if maybe we don't even need the backyard. Yeah, but it's gonna
Okay,
go
hold
into the
on, hold
house
on.
too.
You know what it's like? Sometimes wow,
No,
we need education so bad. And I don't mean just like math and science. We really need to understand life like so much. There's like a very, very simple um if you have a problem, you're like $15,000 in credit card debt. It feels paralyzing. It feels like paralyzing, right? Or if you're like
mm,
$150,000 in debt, or like you can't pay your mortgage because
yes.
whatever happened, some unexpected medical thing, or you can't sleep at night, right? And a problem like that could take 10 years to dig yourself
Hmm.
out of a hole like that,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
Or like you're a drug addict, and it's like it could take me 2 years to get out of this. And so that's on one side of the scale. And the other thing is, the just to continue playing my video game until the game is over, whatever's on the other side of the scale, it's very difficult to understand what action to take when a problem is so big. When I was younger, when humanity was younger, if I needed food, I would figure out a way to like bring food into the house. If I needed to like, another car, so then I would figure out how to, we would to have two incomes and we would get another car. If you're talking about like
Yeah.
earth catastrophe, like the whole sea is going to rise, like this problem is so big, humanity is facing a problem with the honest answer is we do not have a solution. That's the honest
Dude,
answer.
it's a paradox because on the one hand there's the scale, the vast, the gigantic scale of the problem which you point out, but on the other hand, as big as it is also evasive. It is also not immediate, viscerally, urgently immediate to our eyes. This is the paradox with with this climate thing. We know something's big is coming, but it still looks far. It's like the person looking at the tsunami and he goes like, oh, that's a cool wave. Oh, it's getting bigger. Oh, oh my god, I gotta go run somewhere. Now we're able to tell ourselves through science and scientific predictions and everything, like, and also look at the little by little what's happening. Look at this year as opposed to the year before and all that. We can see that in our mind's eye, but we can't. It doesn't touch our immediate desires, our
This is
We've never
immediate
experienced it
sense
before.
of.
We've never had this time where, we all the history books that we have, we've never been able to look back and say, "Oh yeah, the guys in the 1800s also went through, a similar everything's on fire, everything's about to flood." So, we should learn from their experience. It's like we're the first time, for the first time, our generation, this humanity is going through a thing like, oh wow, nature's actually has this reaction.
There's something to be said, yeah, about that. I mean, you could argue that world war happened, world wars happened more than once. So did we learn anything from the first one before the second one? Are we going to learn something before the third one? Question.
This is something that
Yeah.
separates us, Monkey Plus, we call ourselves, or I call us, from Monkey and everything before Monkey. We can write a book or make a clip or say, hey, people in the future, or someone in the past can say, hey, people in the future, let me tell you what happens if such and such and such, and send it into the future. And then the people in the future, they don't have to
Mm.
go through, like monkeys can't do that, or giraffes can't do that. They can't like write a letter
Right.
to future giraffes like, listen, you guys act chill, but really it's just a decoy, because when you act chill, there's a lion hanging out over there. Imagine if giraffes could like
Mhm.
send letters to future giraffes,
Yeah.
then giraffes wouldn't be eaten anymore. They would always figure out, okay, you stay on duty, and when he comes, you're going to kick him with your leg, and then the lions would figure out, okay, we're going to eat, something else, because the giraffes
Mhm.
figured it out. They can't do that. None of these other species can do that. We can do that. The problem, and we have that. We have all the books.
Mhm. So
We
why don't we
have,
do it?
okay, this is
Yeah,
why
that
also,
that
because
that's
we're still, even though we have the ability to write those books, the feeling power, the emotive power in us is still the ruling power. That's the thing, like with teenagers, like even if you tell them they need to go out and feel it themselves, that's exactly what happens
yeah.
at that period of life. We
Mhm.
need to feel, to know. And that there's some kids who like just do everything that mom says to do or dad says to do their whole life. And it's like it could be a great person, but there's some kind of inner force that's like not there. When a person goes out and makes mistakes and feels something, that person stands there. There's like an inner power. So we have to deal with that. So the magic of what we want to be able to do is create the emotions of a future life that's meaningful and compelling, so that we
Yes,
can drive towards that without
that's education, man. You said education. That's education. Bringing the future into the present.
emotionally.
That, yes, like making the future so tangible so that we can act now towards it. That's
As if
essentially
it's the future.
what
as
education is.
as if
What?
it's already, as if it's the future.
Yes.
There's an
Or
awesome,
or you can say uh, showing the possible futures and making both all of those options very tangible to us, and showing how it depends on our action today, how the kind of environment, the kind of moves that we make today, how they create us and our life and our world in the future. Knowing this now, that going through that process, that we can call education. Yeah.
Do we even? My
There's
question. My question is: do we even need to solve this climate crisis? We put this in a description because it was something that's like, okay, everyone else maybe has their own take on the climate crisis. Obviously, the UN has their own take, or some other YouTubers or podcasters have their own take. But our question is kind of: do we even need to solve that problem? That's what I want to understand today.
Right. So we need to get more Kabbalistic here with our level of analysis. I'm wondering how deep we can go
very,
without
very
making
deep.
it sound, without making it too detached from, because this is our challenge, right? Okay.
You go,
Um,
and I'll beat you back onto the track if you go too far off
I
the
would
track.
continue. Okay, I would continue from us. What is our problem? Let's go back to that depiction of, you go back home and your wife and your kids and whatever, and you go like, there's a fire in the backyard and everyone's like in their own thing, and now they're starting to fight who's going to go help you first. But it's like, but you're taxing me or you're taxing my sister, it's like that kind of thing. So the question I'm asking is this: what is our problem? If we recognize that something like our very existence and the existence of our children and grandchildren, even our children is at stake, what's the big deal? We're smart, intelligent, created beings. We can just make a plan and act on it. We have the science to understand how to, let's say, that's a quick tangent. I don't really know. I wouldn't say that humans really understand how the natural system works. I think that we think we understand some of it.
The,
But
the
anyway,
problem, just to say that the problem with science typically is that it's like is where the money comes from. So I'm using money as shorthand because it really depends. We know from last week's show, it depends on what you're studying. So if you have a motivation to discover one thing
yeah,
because
sure.
of the funding for certain kind of research, you're gonna find certain things. So
No doubt, the funding and the sources of it affect the desired research. Of course, we're aware of all that, but let's put the focus on the human issue at the moment. So the problem is with us. The problem is with us. One thing that is you can
is the
argue
problem,
about.
hold on, is the problem if New York and Florida are
Yeah,
going to be underwater, is the problem that we
yes.
keep building by the shoreline? Are you saying like, okay, well, let's just look at the science. Let's say we could remove like money interest from the science and we understand, yes, it's true the sea level is going to rise. Why? Whatever. It's a different story.
Yeah, I'm
Let's
basically.
just move. Let's just move inland, or let's just build some other kind of building. Is that the problem? I mean, okay, fine. We
Um,
solved it. We solved it. And
I'm
actually, you know what? I like that the ocean is now 10 miles from my house instead of 30 miles from my house. And actually, I like that it doesn't snow here in the winter. So, okay, we solved the climate crisis. When you say the problems with us, what's the
I'm just
problem?
starting. I'm starting from a very simple thing that is agreed upon by most people today. This is like the bread and butter of earth scientists right now, and everyone is like, this is something that is not really under debate. Human activity does influence the climate destabilization. This is something that is generally agreed upon. That's all I'm talking about. I'm still not going to a deeper layer here. I'm just starting
Okay.
very simple. Okay.
Okay.
So the problem that the dangers that are ahead of us are exacerbated by and are driven by human activity. Let's not get into the details right now. Is it's more like, where do we live, how much carbon emissions our carbon footprint, do we need to recycling or not recycling, green energy and all that. Let's put the details aside. Human activity uh, is making our planet bad for us, a bad place for us to be. So I'm
Emotionally and
asking.
physically
Yeah. Emotionally, right now we're focused on the
and
climate, but
psychologically.
absolutely, it's absolutely an integrated picture here. So, but let's focus on the climate. So, I'm saying something simple. I'm just highlighting a question. If we recognize the problem is in our activity, why is it so difficult for us to ourselves together and just make a plan that we all agree to follow and just do it? What's the problem? Why are we not doing it? I mean, why are we not doing it? So that's where you go into asking a bigger question about human beings. What is it like if you saw a pack of zebras that have to now run from the lions? They would quickly just huddle together in some way and run away to a different place, right? If the penguins know how to keep each other warm in a community, they have this cool thing that they're doing, and that's how they survive the winter. You know what I'm talking about. So what's the problem with humans that now that we're seeing this catastrophe coming, why can't we just get our act together? What's the problem? So I think here we have to ask a deeper question about human nature. Let's look at what is unique in that respect. We have this whole layer of human relationships that does not exist in other animals, where there is deceit and corruption, and we take control of each other in a very sophisticated and cunning way. And even if we make agreements, then we'll find ways to kind of get around them. And if I'm the leader of a country, then I'll make sure that I still have some sort of an edge. And in that committee, I already, to begin with, I'm influenced by all kinds of other interests and lobbyists that are trying to take me in to sway my decision.
You could do a lot with Elon Musk's $6 billion. You could do a lot with that. What do you mean? He wants to sell $6 billion worth of Tesla stock. What do you mean?
So now, great. So now you have a question: where will it go? Who's going to use it? Who's going to approve it? Who's going to, who's going to make the actual decision of how to use that $6 billion? And then you've got arguments and corruption and deceit going around that. There's the human element is what we're dealing with. That is the real problem. There's no climate problem. The climate
human problem,
itself,
right?
Take the human out, the climate's fine. You know what I mean?
Wow.
There's no
nice one.
That's the problem. So we're dealing.
There's no
with
problem with the climate. There is no. We need to rebrand this. There is no problem with the climate. The climate is with the problem is with the people.
Exactly, and it's definitely not the cats, the dogs, or the insects or the birds that are
oh my God! Hold on, I saw a thing. You're not going to believe this. I wish I took a screenshot of it. There's some thing that like it goes on the front of the cow's mouth or something and catches his burps because it says the methane from the cow's burps is like yeah.
I think that I'm just pouring water. I'm just pouring water. What?
What do you mean?
Say it again.
You said the problem is not with cows or with, there it is. Cow burp catcher will help. What's the headline say? Will help reduce methane emissions by 60%. This is another one of their great ideas. Look at us. Show us a picture again.
What?
When a cow burps. God. Yeah. Can you believe
the first time I see this?
Can you believe this idiocy?
This
is going to solve the climate crisis right here, guys. We should buy stock in this cow methane burp collector. Oh my God. Help us.
But yeah.
Maybe there's something to that.
Yeah.
We need to, the problem is with, I think I just gave away the answer when I said, oh God, help us. we are the problem. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no climate
problem.
There is no climate problem. There is no climate. There's no problem with the climate. Our planet was a ball of gas. Our planet was a ball of fire. Our planet was a ball of ice. Our planet vacillated between these things. Without a doubt, when we do stuff, we produce more carbon when we burn coal than we would without. If there was one volcano, there'd be a lot of carbon also. What we're talking about, if we understood our goal, maybe we should talk about our goal for a few minutes or something, because if we understood our goal, then we would know what where we're trying to get to. Because where are we trying to get to? I mean, if our goal is just to cut carbon, well then you can do that. You just make everything nuclear power, and now we cut carbon. Now what?
We wouldn't even have a goal if it wasn't for all these problems. So why are we even feeling all these problems in the first place?
I say that again?
We wouldn't even have a goal. Humanity wouldn't even be talking about this if there wasn't all these problems to begin with. So
right.
Then what's the purpose? Why are we humanity's been on this planet for a long time. They never had this conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, so what would we be doing if we didn't have this problem, you mean?
We'd have no reason to even talk about it. What does nature want from us? If it's putting us in this situation, and it's saying, okay, here's the hand you have, and we're saying we have this hand, but we're going to play a different card. We want to play the UN dinosaur card instead.
Yeah, no, you're right. We need to with Kabbalah to our aid, we need to look at nature's program. What is its goal of in developing human beings? Now, obviously, that's not something you're going to find in any ordinary textbook, but that's what the Kabbalists are discovering, and they're talking about it. And Kabbalists are not philosophers, they're not poets, they're researchers. They have a different technology, a different method than what we're used to in terms of how to get their findings. But ultimately, what they do is the same like any other researcher, in that they experiment with, observe, study, and detail and describe the laws of nature. So there are laws that govern human development, and those laws are pushing us, are evolving us to a certain kind of level of development that we have to achieve one way or another. The problem is that we don't know it, and we're not aiming ourselves towards that, like we spoke about what education really is. Because if we knew what nature wants from us, if we knew where that, like Chris is pushing us to discuss, if we knew where that program is leading us towards, then maybe if we were able to educate ourselves about it and begin to make some mental steps towards that, then maybe the whole natural system would be more in balance. Because if everything it's doing is pushing us to a certain goal and we're standing in a way, then it's like standing in the way of a moving train. Then of course you're going to have imbalance. So that's where we're going to have to go if we want to go to go deep into Kabbalah land here.
I always want to go as deep as possible into Kabbalah land. So
yeah,
if you're ready to go, let's go.
So we're gonna detach from this plane of reality for a second. Okay, so let's zoom
That's
out.
Why I come here.
Let's do it. Let's just zoom out of all the CGI dinosaurs and carbon emissions and leaders in Glasgow meeting, coming on their private jets to talk about the problem of carbon emissions, right? What are we doing here? What is happening in this human experience, in this global experiment we call human society? What's happening here is that we are gradually acquiring new qualities. We have to evolve to become something that we are currently not. Just like a child becomes a different being even when they grow from being a 5-year-old to a 10-year-old to a 15-year-old to a 20-year-old, it becomes a human being, and all of a sudden all those steps in the childhood and youth they seem like they just steps that he had to take in order to become that person. So similarly, we are under the guidance of laws of development that are pushing us to a completely higher level of existence. It means a new mind, a new kind of perception of reality, and a way to feel each other and the surrounding nature. And so it is so unlike what we are right now that we can't see it in advance. We can't see what we're supposed to become. But that force that's guiding us is, and again, we're gonna the force that's guiding us is something Kabbalists refer to as the quality of unconditional abundance, life, bestowal, giving, love. There's all kinds of words you can find to describe it, and they won't work ultimately, because there's really no way to describe it in human language. It's something that must be attained. But if we were to imagine it, then this is the giving force of nature, that giving force of all life on earth. That is what we're dealing with here. That force, it designed a created being that ultimately will feel it, will become like it.
So that force
That's what we are.
that force clothed itself in matter.
That's
For
that's where the problem begins. Yeah.
So for us, it feels like a period of time. We measure it as time, and it clothed itself in matter in more and more complex states, from rocks to vegetation to animals. But it's all the same force
Same force.
inside, the same force inside, just wearing different clothing each time, more and more complex clothing, until it comes to incarnates through all of this wheel of transformations, until it takes on this hardened mind that develops. But it's the same endless force that fills all of reality. It's
Yeah,
just being clothed.
Kabbalists call it upper light, endless light, abstract light, something that essentially is a formless unknown. We can only feel it to the extent that we become like it. Rabash, our teacher's teacher, writes that there's upper light. The upper light enlivens all of reality, and it even appears in everything corporeal that we see to our eyes. However, the distinction, the reason we see many different things in nature, in reality, and people, and earthquakes, and and volcanoes, and whatever it is, and all the details of reality, is just because that's how our receiving sensors are built. Behind it, there's really just one field, one unique and unified. Nachmanides writes, hundreds of years ago, all the Kabbalists are describing the same thing, and they even use the same words. They have their own scientific, empirical terminology that comes from observation, from actual experience, attainment. And so they explain that kind of force is what we're dealing with here. That is truly the program that is pushing all of creation to a certain purpose. And we have a role, like it or not. We are a very specific function in that system that's developing. We are the conscious function. And so what's happening with us today, human beings in the 21st century, is very interesting, because in order for that quality of bestowal, let's just call it quality of bestowal, for short, and in order for it to create a being that can become similar to it, first it has to somehow permeate it. It has to somehow integrate, mingle with it. And that can only happen through a very interesting, unique process that Kabbalist describes, that is called the shattering. That process, being very short about it, is the way in which the quality of bestowal permeated the opposite quality of the created being, the quality of reception, and mingled with it. We are the result of that mingling. We are the children of the shattering, if you will. That's what human beings are. We, not the still, not the vegetative, not the animals, only the human level, which grew out of the animal level. Only that level contains that dissonance, that conflict, that internal tension between that quality of bestowal and the quality of reception. And because we are children of the shattering, we are children of this mingling, what happens right now in our world, and what has been developing for thousands of years of human development, is that we are trying to use that quality of bestowal, which we're not exactly aware of, but we're trying to use it in the opposite way for our quality of reception. Kabbalists call that the ego, the human ego. We're trying to use whatever we have, whatever we can, in an egoistic way. The result is exactly what we are that other animals aren't. That's why we're so sophisticated. That's why we have this ability to be cunning with each
It's
other.
not to say
And
that
yeah.
Genghis Khan or
Mm,
anyone else in the past, didn't do some nasty stuff. It's just the quality
yes.
today of the corruption is so. But here's another point. Then, if nature is responsible for this development, and nature is giving us such a big problem, why would nature be? Nature is developing a lot of problems. To bring this. We're here living like our 100 years, but to go through billions of years of earthquakes and volcanoes and asteroids and floods and heat and viruses, what's the is there you're saying that it's unique now? Okay, and you're explaining why, but why it's unique. What's the benefit to this feeling creature to be feeling this now? Why, if this is
Yeah.
all a natural development,
Mm-hmm.
what is the benefit that and nature wants to bring? That bestowing force of nature wants to bring this receiving force up to develop it to be like it.
Yes.
What in that process of development? What is the benefit during that process of development for this critical state called the
Right.
footsteps of Messiah, called the last generation, called the end of the 6,000 years? What is the benefit of this? Now we have a heart and a mind, and we can transfer wisdom from generation to generation. And we also have the internet, and we're working on building this critical mass, and we have this big problem in front of us. So, what is the meaning of all of that?
Yeah, you're right. That's what we should explore next. So I'd put it like this. The the only way that you can have a conscious being that can actually uh, identify, sympathize, become similar to that quality of bestowal is through that quality of bestowal permeating it through that process called shattering. And from that shattering, that creature gradually will learn about the difference, this the gap, the delta between our own nature and the nature of the force that we're up against, the nature of the force that's actually nurturing us, that actually is working with us. The climate crisis, to bring everything a little bit back into reality here, right? The climate crisis, from a Kabbalistic perspective, then, is just a manifestation, it's an indication of some limit that we've reached in how we are interacting with the quality that quality of bestowal in an egoistic way. We are starting to see that we can no longer we're bumping against limits. We're starting to hit the wall of trying to derive pleasure and fulfillment and livelihood from exploiting each other and the natural system. That's what the climate crisis is really showing us. That's why, to begin with, if we're going to try to, okay, let's just switch the energy source, let's cut the carbon emissions, and then, nothing here is going to work. We're not going to be able to come to any kind of agreement, and we're not going to really be able to do something that will change things, because it's not on that level that nature is pushing us to go. That's the whole problem here. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to be more friendly to our environment. I actually think that once we begin to sympathize with that governing force of nature, we'll develop love, dare I say, a considerate attitude a friendly attitude, a relationship. We'll develop a relationship with everything, with the air, with the water, with the wind, with the animals. We'll feel all of that as our own. It will become a part of our own existence, different layers of
So
ourselves.
beautiful. So beautiful.
It will, but it can happen only if we change ourselves, if we expand our perception, if we rise to a higher level
So
of
we
consciousness.
literally start to feel this kind of love for the air, for the water, for
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 sure.
everything. We feel this integration with
It
all
provides for
of
us. It's
reality.
been providing life for us for all of humanity forever. It's incredible.
Yeah, and it's impossible otherwise. But guess what? On the way to loving the climate, to loving nature, we're gonna have to love each other too. That's gonna be the big deal here. that's that's
Check
gonna
out this
be
friend. Check out this
it's
friend of mine.
inseparable. It's part of the same process.
Check out
What
this
is this?
friend of mine. Check this dolphin out. Can you make it full
Is he?
screen so everyone can see it? He's blowing smoke bubbles. Oh, I can't see it. He's off to the side.
He's
He
blowing
found
smoke
he's
bubbles?
blowing smoke bubbles.
That's so
So
cool.
so what you're saying is that even if a creature can blow smoke bubbles, even if a creature, no matter, thank you, Chris. I just get such a kick out of that video. There's pictures of parrots playing basketball, um, regardless of what any other creature is capable of. There's
Mhm.
something that's unique to us through all of this process right now that is in our hands. You're saying we have,
Yes.
we're up against, well, here's where I need you to take my hand and take me across the finish line with this. We're up against a wall. Humanity is up against a wall, right?
Just you wait. I think it's gonna be a lot. The hitting the wall is gonna be a lot more of a, it's gonna be felt really hard. Unfortunately, I think there's not gonna be a way around it. I think things are gonna get worse.
And it's
To
all,
be realistic here, yeah.
and it's on purpose from the side of nature so that we understand and feel. At the end of the day, the purpose of this whole game is to fill us with endless fulfillment, right? So the question is, why is it so uncomfortable? Why are we going through this process that seems so uncomfortable in the meantime?
Mm.
Why do we emotionally need to feel?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
isn't it enough to like open up the ancient book of wisdom and be like, oh, just love each other, and then tell
Mm.
everyone else to love each other, and then you can be in balance and in harmony with the force of reality, and you'll be an eternal. You'll rise above time and space, and you'll be in endless bliss forever.
That's the difference between ants or fish or even the cells in our body and we humans. No, we can't. We just can't do that. We are, and Kabbalists are very aware of this. No one is saying, let's hold hands, sing kumbaya, everything's going to be fine. No, everything's just not going to be fine this way. We have to be aware of our ego on the one hand. That's why humanity into the 21st century is discovering levels of egoism never before. And like you said, it's not that we didn't have dictators in the past and people who tortured people and all that. We had that, but never before we've become so sophisticated and cunning and deceitful and very specific in our ego. And that is actually
And what's
that.
the? I want to know what's the benefit of that. What's the value of that? Why is nature showing that? Why do we need to be despaired of all of our leaders? Why do we need to be despaired of media? Why do we need to feel that
Yes.
my kids are not going to have a better future than me with this economy, or that the school is failing them, or that I can't rely on my religion the way that I used to, or
Yeah.
that all of the food is filled with artificial this, and the grass is covered with poisonous weed killer? And why?
Yeah.
Why does we need
Well,
to
well,
reveal that wherever I look is a problem?
I just glimpsed at the title of our show, and it says, "Can anyone solve this climate problem?" what we're going to have to discover, and that's the answer, is that we can't solve this problem on our own. Not our leaders, not our Elon Musks, not our tycoons, and not any smart kind of green energy recycling plan. That's just not going to work. What we have to do here is we need to connect the minus and plus of nature within us. They're balanced and connected on all other levels. The still, all those protons and electrons and whatever electric charges and positive charges, they know how to make stuff work and how to do it harmoniously. Instinctively, exactly. The vegetation knows how to do the same. All of the earth, you can argue, but wait, the earth went through, crazy times of being cool and being warm, and now we're looking at some global warming of a few degrees. Right, of course, there was times when the earth was flammable until new species of animals were created to balance the oxygen levels that made it too flammable. So nature needed more animals to balance it with carbon dioxide. So of course, all of this balancing act is going on in nature for a long time. We are now part of the balancing act in a conscious way. That's the whole difference. Nature knew how to how to oscillate between the plus and the minus, these two forces, opposite forces of nature, through all the different species, and keep it balanced and take it to the next level of development. We are now required to participate consciously. That's the whole difference. Sorry, go ahead.
In Shamati, Bala Sulam said that in the corporeal world, the opposites have to exist. They exist at the same time, but in two different carriers. So you have like mosquito and bird, or you have like rain and fire. You have like the two opposites in the physical world. It's all kind of stretched out like on this timeline. But he said in spirituality, the two opposites exist within one carrier. And that's where we're going. And that's what we need to learn how to do. We need to learn how to take the bigger you are spiritually, it's like the bigger minus and the bigger plus you can grab, and you can bring them together inside, and then you shine this light. And what light? Because we don't have light. The light comes through us. Just like when you put the two circuits together, the electricity can pass through there. That's what we've become with this powerful mind and heart, that the more we learn this, we can grab a bigger plus and a bigger minus, and we can put them together through this inner process and shine even more light through us. And when that light shines, the same way an ant, he's looking around and all he sees is grass, and then he rises up and he's a dog, and now he's on top of the grass, and then he rises up and he's a person and he's on top of the dog. The more we shine more light, the more we see what world we're really in. Yeah. We're not in the grass how we feel now, because there's only a little bit of light coming through. But when that spiritual light shines in the same reality, we'll start to see all different forces that are here, all different beings, creatures, who knows, because we're going to be seeing
in that respect, I gotta say, Cookie Monster here in the chat, hey Cookie Monster, said something earlier. What if even if humanity stopped polluting, it's a known thought, even if we stop polluting the earth right now, it's going to take centuries until we repair the damage. And all the let me add to that, all the plastic in the ocean, and all the and the junk in space, by the way, that's another huge problem. But I don't think that's a correct understanding of nature. We don't understand we truly do not know how this whole natural system is held together, and what the conscious functions of the human being that are currently lacking in our experience of the material world, of this world around us, how that can influence the material world. It's gonna sound very weird, but if we get into balance with nature, nature knows how to repair itself. Just like your body knows how to, it knows what to do when you have some sort of a wound. If you just let it be and it has the right environment and your body can do what it's supposed to do, it has the mind. It has
Nature
the
can clean all
knowledge.
the water.
It
Nature can clean all the air. Nature can
new
make thousands
species
of new species.
new species can emerge exactly that can clean things we don't understand
We
I
don't
don't want to
understand.
Rav
I
Michael
don't want to go
Lightman
into
in the morning lesson.
no,
Rav Michael
exactly.
Lightman said that the higher perception, the new higher
The
perception,
daily
is a
Kabbalah
collective.
lesson.
That's
Just
right. You're
say it
welcome to
again.
come.
Say it again.
He said that the higher perception is a collective perception, which is sounds like what you guys are saying we're headed towards.
And the perception that we're going to develop is to merge with the perception of all of nature. We're going to make ourselves a vessel for that light that Kabbalists talk about, that runs all of nature, to pass through us as well, so we can dance with it, so we can be in balance with it in a conscious way, not like a fish, not like an ant, not through instinct, but in a conscious way. That's why we're so egoistic, because otherwise you can't develop that higher level of consciousness. That's why we're not going to be able to solve the climate crisis within our ego.
Wait a
We
second.
need to rise to a higher level. We're going to have to rise to a higher level of sympathy with nature,
So-
balance with nature.
So you're telling me that that this guy can't solve it? Who's this? Oh, it's Bezos. He can't solve the problem.
What is that?
No, some guy made it. I can't show the audio, obviously, but you know,
Funny.
so it's a good little collection. Okay, fine.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where we're going. And yeah, I don't know what how would you conclude this? We're at the end of the line here.
The if you're like in a company, if you're working in the accounting department and you have a very big project,
Yeah.
it's like a very critical project. You need to understand all those things in the company need to be in order, right? And then you zoom out and you get to the sales department, and somebody's on a plane going somewhere to make the deal, because without making the deal to sell the product, there's no money coming into the company. And then
Right.
you have R&D, because if they don't make a product that can withstand, and then you have the aesthetics to make the product look correctly, and then you have the CEO who like has the vision for the company. We're trying to solve the accounting problem. I mean, we're trying to solve the climate problem as if we're like the sales department, or if we're the accounting department, or if we're the
Right.
marketing department.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the whole picture of what's going on here, and that's what we wanted. That's what we attempted to speak about today. Is that the real solution is in a place we're not looking at all yet, and it sounds very, very strange to think that somehow by me changing my internality, it's gonna fix
The outer world will respond.
Yeah.
Yes. But also, even we talked about it, even just a very simple logical step, just in order to get our act together and to work together to save ourselves, just for that we have to change ourselves. Even that's not gonna work. So even if you were to disregard all of the interconnectivity between us and nature that exists beyond our limited perception, even if you were just to rely on, let's get ourselves to stop this bad human activity that destroys, that destabilizes nature, even for that, you're going to have to get human beings to see each other, feel each other, work together, and feel nature in a new way. So you can't run away from this problem. There's no problem with the climate. There's a problem with the humans. And to solve that, we're going to have to rise to a new level of being. Yeah.
Great to be together. Wow. Awesome conversation, Asaf. Thank you so much, Chris, and everyone who came to join the conversation. Big hug.
Yes, folks. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We're always happy to see all your comments here in the chat. Hey, if you have any, just one last thing. We're past our time here. If you have topics, things that are specifically that you'd like us to get into, to explore through the lens of Kabbalah, would love to know, and we'll definitely look into that. So just leave it in the comments, in the chat, wherever. We'll take a look and see you next week, right?
2 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you then, everyone.
Thursday, 2 p.m.
Thursday.
Eastern. See you, everybody.
I need you to show me something good. Show me how. Can't do it without you. When I'm waiting for something to happen, we did turn.